Hello, Mark Crossfield here with GolfOnline, talking wedges, buying advice with wedges. I'm on their website here, and as I can see, there is a good selection of wedges. How do you know which one to choose? Let's talk a little bit around what your buying decisions might come down to with wedges, give you some buying power, some confidence to be sure you're making the best choices for your game. So wedges, it's an interesting one. I've got a Mizuno S5 here, which is what I use, this blue one. We've got a Titleist SM6, their latest wedge. And I've got a Mac Daddy PM grind, the Phil Mickelson inspired wedge here. So three very different finishes and quite different shapes in a couple of them, certainly in the PM grind wedges. How do you know which wedge is best for your game? Well, it's an interesting discussion because it's going to always boil down a lot more to feel for lots of people. The most important thing to think about when you're buying wedges are the lofts. So what lofts you need to fit into your set. So you need to know what loft your pitching wedge is, then you might need a gap wedge or a sand wedge, and then a lob wedge that sync to that loft. So I would be looking for around 4 to 6 degrees difference between whatever my pitching wedge loft is to my next wedge to my next one. And then if I have a lofted one at the end, the question will be, what do I want to do with that? So the lofts are the first port of call you need to be thinking about, and that's going to be about finding distance gaps. That can change player to player, subject to how you play wedges. I've played with some very good golfers who only pitch and chip, say, with a 9-iron or a pitching wedge. So they might not be funking their wedges up the other end, where I've played with other great players who use lob wedges always. So their lob wedge needs to be a certain loft, and they almost work backwards from there a little bit sometimes. So you've got to work it into your style of play as well. So loft's your first point of call. Second point of call, you've got things called bounce on the bottom. So the bounce is how much the bottom of the club slopes. So from leading edge to back edge, back away, if you like. So it's lower at the back edge than it is at the front edge. Things that are going to affect the bounce and your choice of bounce. Your style of play. If you're someone who tends to have a lot of shaft lean, quite neutral, you tend to twist the face or the club around the axis of the shaft, which can add bounce. Those kind of things, even though there's a stamped bounce on the bottom of the club, might affect your buying decisions. Subject to how you play, so you might go for a low bounce and add bounce by twisting it, those kind of things. Other things that might affect the bounce is the condition of courses that you play on. So if you've got very soft kind of grass, very fluffy lie, you might go for more bounce to try and get that club getting in there and bouncing back out. If you've got very tight lies, you might not want bounce. If you imagine trying to hit off this tabletop here and the back end is lower than the front too much, that's going to lead the leading edge stuck up in the air, so it's going to make it very hard for me to play my style of shot. So I might need to start putting handles forwards, then I feel like I'm digging with the front end. So the kind of style of courses that you play on might also influence that. But for most people, to be honest with you, they are changing their style of course. So I would say you might need to be more robust with your ideas around bounce than that. So again, bounce isn't a fact. It still has to be discussed. Then the next thing is the shape, colours, feel, sound, those kind of things as well. I go for the S5. I'm a little bit of a Mizuno fan, so the brand fits my bag, fits what I like in a golf club, what I've come to love from a manufacturer, if you like. But I love the blue finish on it also. Titleist Vokey wedges, very popular on tour, those kind of things. You might want to have that kind of look and feel. Your favourite player uses them. Those kind of things can still influence your decision because these clubs are very feel based. You can use bounce and lofts and the science of, but if you put a club down and just don't like the look of it, sound of it, the feel of it, the glare, the non-glare that it gives from the different colours, then you might not be able to play it. So again, don't be afraid to trust your feel. And then through to the Callaway. I've got this in a lob wedge. It's got a very high toe on it. Phil Mickelson plays a lot of shots where he opens the club up, so he feels he hits it quite high in the face. And the PM grind, for instance, has more face up there, which is a design fact that I like and utilise a bit when I've been on the course. Anyone who watches the course vlogs might see that. So loads of wedges. If I'm looking at this wedge page, I wouldn't be going into it empty or clean. I'd be going in with some kind of brand alliance possibly, and I'd be going in with some kind of colour and feel and sound. So maybe watch a few videos like this, maybe look at your friends, maybe have a go with a few, and then come and pick your wedge and make sure you get the right bounce and loft to fit into your set. Hope that helps, gives you kind of a bit of a round overview of how to pick maybe the best wedges to help you get up and down.